The Valorian Empire's diplomatic cruiser dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of purple light. The massive ship called the Eternal Dominion was the size of a small city. Its dark metal hull was covered in symbols of conquest. Skulls from 100 different species decorated its walls. This was intentional. The ship was designed to make other species afraid. Ambassador Krellax stood in the main chamber preparing himself. He was 8 ft tall, covered in dark green scales with eyes like burning coals. He wore ceremonial ribbons across his chest. Each ribbon represented a species that had surrendered to the Empire. He had 47 ribbons. He was very proud of this number. "Are the humans ready?" he asked his assistant. "Yes, Ambassador. They are waiting in docking bay 7. Cax nodded. He had done this 847 times before. Well, his people had. The Valorian Empire had been conquering species for 12,000 years. They had a system. It always worked. First, they arrived in an impressive ship. Second, they gave an intimidating speech. Third, the other species surrendered. Simple. He walked to the docking bay with his guards. They were also tall and covered in scales. They carried weapons that glowed with red energy. Everything about them screamed danger. Everything about them said, "Be afraid." The docking bay doors opened. Krellax stepped forward, ready to meet the primitive humans. He had read the reports. Humans were young, only 300 years in space. They controlled only 47 systems. This would be easy, but something was wrong. The humans were not cowering. They were not trembling. They were standing casually near their small shuttle, drinking from strange containers. They wore simple blue jumpsuits. No armor, no weapons, no formal robes. One of them, a female with dark hair tied back, waved at him. "Hi there, you must be the Valorians, come on in." Krellax was confused but continued. He drew himself up to his full height. He spread his arms wide, making himself look as large as possible. His guards moved into formation behind him. The lights dimmed automatically, making him look more dramatic. "I am Ambassador Krellax of the Valorian Empire," he began, his voice deep and booming. "We are the conquerors of galaxies. We are the masters of 1,000 worlds. We have brought 847 species under our rule. For 12,000 years we have spread across the stars, unstoppable and eternal." He paused for effect. This was usually when species started to panic, but the humans were looking at each other. One of them, a male with gray hair, had his hand over his mouth. His shoulders were shaking. Krellax continued. "Your species is young, weak. You cannot stand against us, but we are merciful. Surrender now, and you will be allowed to exist as part of our empire. Refuse and you will be destroyed. You have one standard cycle to decide." He finished his speech. He stood tall, waiting for the fear, waiting for the begging, waiting for the inevitable surrender. Instead, the female human made a strange noise, a high-pitched sound. She was trying to hold it in but failing. Then she started laughing. The gay-haired male joined her. Then another human, then all of them. Within seconds, the entire human delegation was laughing. Some were bent over. One was wiping tears from his eyes. Krellax stood frozen. In 12,000 years of Empire history, this had never happened, not once. "I'm sorry," the female human said between laughs. "I'm so sorry, but you guys are adorable." "Adorable," Krellax repeated. He did not know this word in the context of conquest. "Yeah," another human said, still chuckling. "This whole thing, the skull ship, the dramatic lighting, the 'we are unstoppable' speech. It's like watching kids play pretend. We thought this was a joke," the gay-haired human added, like some kind of historical reenactment. "Are you guys from a Renaissance fair?" Krellax felt something he had never felt before during a first contact. He felt offended. "This is not a joke. We are the Valorian Empire. We have conquered 847 species." "Yeah, we heard you the first time," the female human said, trying to compose herself. She took a deep breath. "Look, I'm Captain Sarah Chen. This is my diplomatic team, and I'm trying really hard to be professional here, but you have to understand how this looks to us." "How does it look?" Krellax asked coldly. "Like a theme park attraction," Sarah said. "I mean the skull decorations, the glowing weapons, the surrender or die ultimatum. We have movies with villains less cliché than this." "We are not cliché," Krellax roared. "We are feared across the galaxy." This only made the humans laugh harder. Sarah held up her hands. Okay, I'm sorry, you're clearly serious about this. Let me try to understand. You came here to make us surrender, yes, and you've done this to 847 other species, correct, and they all surrendered eventually. Yes. Sarah looked at her team, then back at Krellax. Oh boy, you guys have no idea what you've walked into. What do you mean? Cax do. Mondade. Sarah took a sip from her container. It smelled like coffee. Tell me something. How many species did you have to actually fight? Like really fight, not just intimidate. Kellex thought about this. Perhaps 50, most surrender after seeing our power. Ooha, and how long did those wars last? The longest was 12 years. Sarah nodded slowly. Okay, and you think this makes you impressive? It makes us the largest empire in known space. Cax said. Known space according to who? Sarah asked. Have you explored past the Perseus arm? Sarah interrupted. No, but the Sagittarius arm, that region is the galactic core. Clack stopped. The galactic core is impossible to explore. We have 3 research stations there, Sarah said casually. We've been there for 50 years. Kellex stared at her. This was impossible. The radiation alone would kill any biological being. Look, Sarah said, her tone becoming more serious. I'm going to give you some advice. And I really, really hope you listen to it. Go home, forget you ever met us. Tell your empire that humanity is not worth the trouble, please. Is that a threat? Kfax asked. No, Sarah said quietly, it's a warning. You came here expecting to find prey, instead you found something else. Something you're not prepared for. You have 47 systems, Krellax said. We have thousands. You cannot threaten us. We're not threatening you, the gay-haired human said. He had stopped laughing. He looked almost sad. We're trying to protect you, protect us. Cax could not believe this. You are primitives, you have no military presence, your fleets are tiny. Yes, Sarah said. Do you know why our military is so small? Because you are weak, Sarah shook her head. No, because we don't need one, we haven't fought a real war in 200 years. Then you have grown soft, Kellex said triumphantly. You have forgotten how to fight. The humans looked at each other. Several of them made sad, bitter sounds. That's what we hoped, Sarah said quietly. We really, really hoped we had forgotten, but if you push this, we're going to find out if that's true. And honestly, that terrifies us more than it should terrify you. Kellex had had enough of this strange conversation. You have 1 cycle to surrender. After that, we will return with our fleet. He turned and walked back toward his ship. His guards followed. Behind him, he heard Sarah say something to her team. Get me a line to Earth. We need to warn them. The Empire doesn't know what it's starting. As the docking bay doors closed, Krellax looked back one more time. The humans were not laughing anymore. They looked serious now, worried. Good, he thought. Finally they understand, but deep in his mind a small voice whispered a question he could not answer. Why would they be worried for use? Cax stood before the Supremacy Council on the Imperial Throne World. The chamber was enormous, carved from black stone. 12 council members sat on high chairs looking down at him. They were the leaders of the Valorian Empire. They had ruled for thousands of years. Explain yourself, demanded High Chancellor Vormak. He was the oldest, his scales gray with age. You returned without a surrender. This is unprecedented. Kellex struggled to find the right words. The humans, they laughed at us. Silence filled the chamber. They laughed. Vormak repeated slowly. Yes, High Chancellor. They said we were adorable. They compared us to children playing pretend. They thought our ship was a theme park attraction. One council member hissed. This is an insult to the Empire, I agree, Kellex said, but there is something else, something troubling. The female human, Captain Chen, she warned me. She told us to leave and forget we met them. A threat, another council member asked. No, she said it was protection for us, not for them. Vormech leaned forward. What do you recommend? Kellex hesitated. He had never failed before. He had never been laughed at, but something about the humans made him uneasy. I recommend caution. Perhaps we should study them more before taking action. Caution. Vormak's eyes blazed. We show caution to no one. Send the intimidation fleet. We will demonstrate our power, then they will understand. But High Chancellor, you are dismissed, Ambassador. 3 days later, 200 Valorian warships emerged from hyperspace around Earth. The fleet formed a perfect sphere around the blue planet. Each ship was armed with plasma cannons, missile batteries, and nuclear weapons. Together, they could destroy a planet's surface in hours. Admiral Czar commanded the fleet from his flagship. He opened a communication channel to Earth. Humans of Earth, his voice boomed across every frequency. This is Admiral Czar of the Valorian Empire. You are surrounded. You cannot escape. You cannot hide. Surrender now or your planet will burn. You have one rotation to comply. He closed the channel and waited. On Earth, in the United Nations headquarters, people watched the broadcast. Then something strange happened. Instead of panic, people started laughing. Not everyone, but many. Within minutes, the broadcast had been recorded and shared across the human networks. Someone added funny music to it. Someone else made the Admiral's voice high and squeaky. By the end of the first hour, there were thousands of versions of the broadcast, each one more ridiculous than the last. News shows picked it up. Late-night comedy hosts dedicated entire segments to it. One human comedian did an impression of Admiral Zetar, making him sound like a dramatic actor in a bad play. The audience loved it. They think they're so scary, the comedian said. 200 ships, that's cute. We have more ships in our delivery fleet. Amazon has more logistics capability than their entire navy. The audience laughed and clapped. Stores started selling merchandise, t-shirts that said, "I survived the Valorian Empire's angry space lizards." Coffee mugs with Admiral Zetar's face and the words "surrender or I'll burn your coffee." One human colony, New Austin, received the surrender ultimatum. Their official response was, "New phone, Huties." Admiral Zetar watched all of this with growing confusion. He had expected panic, fear, begging. Instead, the humans were mocking him. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a message from Earth. It's marked as official. Put it through." An old human male appeared on the screen. He wore a military uniform covered in medals. His hair was white, his face lined with age, but his eyes were sharp and cold. "I am General Kowalski, United Nations Defense Force," the human said. "I'm told you're waiting for our surrender." "Yes," Admiral Czar said, pleased. Finally, someone who understood. "Have you come to accept our terms?" "No," Kowalski said. "I've come to give you a chance to leave." Admiral Czar laughed. "You have no military presence. We've scanned your system. You have fewer than 100 military vessels. We have 200 in this fleet alone. We have thousands more. What can you possibly do?" "That's exactly the problem," Kowalski said quietly. "You looked at our military and thought we were weak. You're making a terrible mistake." "What mistake?" "You assume we have a small military because we can't build a bigger one," Kowalski said. "That's not why it's small." "Then why?" "Because we don't need a bigger one. We haven't fought a real war in 200 years. Admiral Czar waved a hand dismissively. "Then you have gone soft. You have forgotten war." Kowalski's expression didn't change. "I wish that were true. I really, really wish that were true. You cannot frighten me with words, old human." "I'm not trying to frighten you," Kowalski said. "I'm trying to save you. Let me ask you something. Have you looked at our military spending?" "Yes, it is pathetic. Only 0.3% of your total economy, right? And do you know what that means?" Admiral Czar did not answer. He was starting to feel the same unease that Krellax had felt. "It means 99.7% of our economy is doing something else." Kowalski said, "Building things, making things, creating things. We have manufacturing capability that could bury you in steel and fire. We have shipyards that build cruise ships bigger than your flagship. We have factories on every world. We have resources you can't imagine." "Resources mean nothing without the will to fight," Admiral Czar said, but his voice was less certain. "Now that's the problem," Kowalski said. "We have the will, we've always had the will, we just haven't had anyone to fight." "You lie, you are trying to trick me," Kowalski sighed. "Admiral, how many species have you conquered?" 847. "And how many of them fought back?" "About 50. "And the longest war, 12 years. Kowalski nodded slowly. "Do you know how long humans fought each other before we went to space?" "No, 10,000 years non-stop. We had a war that killed 80 million of our own people in just 6 years. We built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We pointed them at ourselves. We lived under the threat of total extinction for 40 years, and we survived." Admiral Czar said nothing. He was starting to understand. "We unified our species not through peace." Kowalski continued. "We unified through fear. We scared ourselves so badly that we had to stop fighting or die. We chose to stop, but we never forgot how." "You are trying to intimidate me." "No," Kowalski said, "I'm trying to educate you. You came here looking for prey. You found predators playing at civilization. And if you attack us, if you give us a reason to stop playing, you're going to learn something we've tried very hard to forget. And what is that? How good we are at war. Admiral Zactor closed the communication. He sat in silence for several minutes. Then he opened a channel to the throne world. This is Admiral Czar requesting to speak with the Supremacy Council. When High Chancellor Vormech appeared, Admiral Czar spoke quickly. High Chancellor, I recommend we withdraw. The humans are not what they appear. I believe attacking them would be a mistake. A mistake, Vor. Max's voice was ice. You have 200 ships. They have fewer than 100. What could they possibly do? I don't know, Admiral Czar admitted, but I don't want to find out. Your concern is noted and dismissed. Vormech said you have your orders. If they do not surrender in one rotation, you will begin bombardment of their military installations. Show them the price of defiance. The channel closed. Admiral Czar looked at his displays. Earth spun slowly below, blue and green and beautiful, peaceful. He saw the lights of cities, the trails of ships coming and going. A civilization living its life unconcerned with his fleet. No, he realized, not unconcerned. They knew he was here. They just weren't afraid. That was what troubled him most. They should be afraid. Every species was afraid when the fleet arrived. Fear was natural. Fear made sense, but the humans weren't afraid. They were laughing, or worse, they were warning him. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Czar wondered if maybe he should have listened. Ambassador Krellax could not sleep. The human encounter troubled him. He cleared his throat, kept thinking about Captain Chen's warning, about General Kowalski's cold eyes, about the laughter. He decided he needed to understand. The Empire had a research division. They studied conquered species to understand their weaknesses. Krellax sent a request to study human history. He wanted to know what made them so confident. The next day, he received a message from Research Director Sithal. Ambassador, please come to the research facility immediately. You need to see this. Krellax arrived to find Sithal and his team in a state of distress. The director's scales were pale, his hands shook. What did you find? Krellax asked. Everything, Sithal said. The humans gave us access to their historical databases. They said we should know what we're dealing with. I thought they were bluffing. I thought it would be stories of peace and exploration. He paused. I was wrong, so very wrong. He activated a large display. Numbers appeared, dates, events. Humans have been in space for 300 years. Sithal began. Before that, they were confined to one planet. And on that one planet, they spent 10,000 years killing each other. Most species have conflict. Kax said, this is normal. Not like this, Sithal said. Look at the numbers. The display showed casualty figures. 1.2 billion dead over recorded history. Just from humans fighting other humans, Krellax stared. This cannot be accurate. 1.2 billion. That's more than the total population of most species when we encounter them. It's accurate. We verified it through multiple sources. Sithal changed the display. Let me show you specific examples. An image appeared. A mushroom-shaped cloud rising over a city. This is a nuclear weapon, Sithal explained. Humans invented it 350 years ago. It uses atomic fission to create an explosion. This one bomb destroyed an entire city, killed over 100,000 humans instantly. They used it on themselves, Krellax whispered. Twice, 2 cities, 2 bombs. Then they built more, thousands more. At one point they had enough nuclear weapons to destroy their entire planet 50 times over. But they were still on the planet, Krellax said, confused. They would die too. Yes, they called it mutually assured destruction. If one side launched their weapons, the other side would launch theirs. Everyone would die. They lived like this for 40 years. Krellax sat down heavily. What kind of species threatens itself into compliance? That's not even the worst part, Sithal said. He pulled up more data. Let me show you World War II. The display changed. Maps, battles, numbers that made Krellax feel sick. This was one war. Sial said it lasted 6 years. 70 to 85 million dead. That's more casualties in 6 years than our empire has inflicted in the last 50 years of conquest. Another researcher spoke up. She was young, her scales still bright green. They had concentration camps, places where they sent civilians to die. They used poison gas. They burned cities with firebombs. She stopped, unable to continue. Sithal took over. They did things to each other that we cannot imagine doing to our worst enemies. And they did it systematically, efficiently, like it was a job. Show me their weapons development, Krellax said quietly. The timeline appeared. Stone axes 12,000 years ago. Bronze swords, iron weapons, gunpowder, rifles, machine guns, tanks, chemical weapons, biological weapons, nuclear weapons, all developed over 12,000 years. For comparison, Sithril said, it took us 40,000 years to develop from basic tools to energy weapons. Humans did it in less than a third of that time, and they were fighting the entire time. War drove their innovation. Krellax thought about the Valorian Empire's own development. They had advanced slowly, steadily through cooperation and conquest of lesser species. What happened after they got nuclear weapons? They stopped fighting, Sithril said. Not because the why wanted to, because they had to. The weapons were too powerful. Any major war would end civilization, so they found other outlets. The display changed to show humans in combat, but they were in arenas, combat sports. Sithal explained. They fight each other for entertainment. Boxing, wrestling, mixed martial arts. They hurt each other but don't kill each other usually. More images. Humans racing in vehicles, jumping from aircraft, climbing mountains without safety equipment. Swimming with predators, they seek danger. The young researcher said they do these things voluntarily for fun. Their entertainment is filled with war, Sithrall added. He showed Krellax clips from human movies, explosions, battles, death. This is fiction, but look how detailed it is. Look how much thought they put into depicting warfare. They never forgot, Krellax said. No, they just redirected it. They channeled their violent instincts into sports game stories. They made war obsolete, but they didn't make it forgotten. Another researcher pulled up images of human children. They were playing with toy soldiers, toy guns, video games showing battles. Their young ones play at war. The researcher said, they train them from birth to think about strategy, tactics, conflict. They say it's just play, but look at the detail. Look at the thought that goes into these toys. Krellax watched a video of human children playing a video game. The game simulated massive battles with thousands of units. The children were giving orders, coordinating attacks, outmaneuvering each other. They were 7 years old. They've been at peace for 200 years, Sethal said. But they never stopped thinking about war. They never stopped preparing. They just didn't have anyone to fight. Show me their current military. Krellax said the display changed. This is interesting. Sithril said their military is small, very small. Only 0.3% of their economy, but look at the training. Videos showed human soldiers training. They moved with precision, speed, efficiency. They practiced with weapons, hand-to-hand combat tactics. They trained in every environment, underwater, in space, on frozen worlds, on burning worlds. They trained constantly. Seth said, even in peace they trained for war. And look at this. He showed Krellax human militaries, schools where they taught warfare, history of battles, tactics, strategy. Some of these schools were hundreds of years old. They study war like we study art. The young researcher said they have thousands of books about it, millions of hours of videos. They analyze every battle they've ever fought. They learn from their mistakes. What mistakes? Krellax asked. If they won, what mistakes matter? That's the terrifying part, Sithril said.